Good morning. What's up, chef? What's good, peeps? Rise and shine. Time to make the donuts, that's right. Time to make the donuts. Let's do the right thing and hit the like button. I like that, John. Oh, what's that? What are these little hearts at the bottom? You guys saw that? Is that a new thing? Press the like button. I think there's hearts that show up in the chat. I've never seen that before. Or maybe it's the reactions. Huh. Hope you had a nice Easter. Yeah, thank you, Tyler. You too. Yeah, look at that. What are those hearts? I've never seen that before. I guess we're getting some hearts. Damn. New stream. YouTube's changing some things up. Morning, good morning. We will wait a few minutes for some people to jump in. Hope you guys had a good weekend. It's an Easter miracle. We found it, Ponzi. That's right. Yeah, Tesla with some downside this morning. I think there's a class action lawsuit. At least that's really the only thing I saw. And I know definitely some negative momentum, it's saying. Tesla updated its pricing of its vehicles last Thursday, announcing mid-single-digit percentage cuts for Model Y, S, and X. Tesla continues to devalue my Tesla, which is terrible. They continue to make me lose money on my Model Y, I guess. Continue to make the cars cheaper. New York Knicks playoff week, yeah. Who are they playing, Gold? Who are they playing? Is it out yet? Let me see. Oh, the Cavs. Knicks, Cavs. Sell that Tesla. I've been thinking about it, Raymond, but I really do like the car. Especially for the drive between Miami and Naples, the Alligator Alley. Just sort of put it on auto drive and just let it go. So it's pretty nice for that. Tyler, it's because of the price of the contracts, Tyler. So I don't really trade based off contract size. I trade based off, the overall amount in the position, right? The equity that I have in the position. So a stock like AMD and SPY have cheaper premiums, meaning if I want to take a $10,000 position, I have to raise the amount of contracts I put in a SPY or AMD position than I would in a Tesla or NVIDIA position. So, when people ask me, how many contracts did you take? It's really not about how many contracts I took. It's more about how much is in the position, because that stays consistent for me. So I have to know how many contracts I have to take the same exact position size across all the stocks. That's why you see varied contract sizes. Hopefully that makes sense to you. All right, let's get started. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the stream. Hope everyone had a good weekend. It looks like it's a little bit of downside this morning off some key supply levels on the SPY, ES, Nasdaq, all hitting some major levels. SPY 410 is going to be big today. You guys see that in the title of the stream. SPY 410 It's this 13,000, what is it? This 13,170, 13,002 level on the Nasdaq. And on the ES, it's around this 4135. So some big downside off those levels, honestly, in the last 10 minutes, and needs to be watched today. So let's get started. And we're still moving lower as we speak. So a little bit of downside pressure this morning. All right, so today, 410. Welcome back, guys. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Let's get started. Futures, as always, economic earnings calendar. The earnings calendar, really not much today. I'm sorry, economic, I mean. Not much. 10 a.m. wholesale inventories, really nothing there. Tomorrow, really nothing there either. The big stuff is Wednesday. Core CPI. This is going to be pretty major on Wednesday, right? Pretty major on Wednesday. CPI 830, definitely the one to watch. You also have minutes. Okay, we have FOMC minutes on Wednesday as well at 2 o'clock. So that's going to be a pretty big day. What do we usually say about the 2 days before a big event like this, before CPI, before FOMC? What do we usually say before this and before PPI on Thursday? You probably don't expect much movement today and tomorrow, right? In anticipation for CPI Wednesday and anticipation of FOMC minutes on Wednesday as well. So do we expect crazy moves before that? Probably not. Could it be choppy? Absolutely. What's the definition of insanity, right? Expecting different, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So we need to be cautious coming into the markets today, tomorrow, and expect the choppiness. Just come into the day expecting it. If it doesn't happen, great. But if it does, you expected it. All right. So let's keep that in mind heading into the next 2 trading days before CPI, before FOMC minutes. All right. Tesla 176. Some nice downside this morning on Tesla. Looks like it's still under pressure. Tesla 176 is a big level to watch this morning. Apple 164, Nvidia 270, another big one. AMD still under 93 is pretty big. Microsoft, big day on Friday, even against the market. And that's moving back into a 290 supply level to watch. Google, actually pretty strong as well over this key 108 level. And then Meta 216. All right, Meta 216 is pretty big as well. It's sort of rejecting it this morning. So some big levels to watch on some individual names. And yeah, I think, if we get some nice action today, some pretty nice levels to play. So I am excited about some of these levels we're going to talk about today. I do see some pretty nice setups out there. So let's sort of prepare our day. All right. We ready? I think we're ready. Press the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Here we go. All right. ES. Actually, you know what? I like the Nasdaq today. I like starting on the Nasdaq today. 4 hour, 1 hour. That's the big one. Actually, you know what? I think it even looks better on the 30-minute. Yeah, I like the 30-minute. So, 30-minute. What did we do? What did we do on Thursday of last week? We talked about this in the live stream. We talked about the 13,000 retest level, right? We talked about if the market can move lower, watch for 13,000. I think I actually have, let me see if I can, hold on 1 second here. Yeah, here we go. All right. This was our analysis on, if you guys want to get this text analysis, it's down below. It says technical levels. This was our analysis on Thursday. This was what we talked about. I sort of document what we talk about every day in the live stream. You cannot buy puts into 13,000 today, right? You just simply cannot be short on Thursday into this retest 13,000, right? That was just a simple demand level that you have to respect, right? And you have to understand coming into the market. And you guys can see on Thursday, right? What happened to people buying puts at demand? Obviously, not a very good day, right? So 13,000, very strong demand, held up on Thursday. You saw that big upside push. That was very key. It was very textbook, not very hard to read, right? We all knew that was coming on Thursday as we approached that 13K retest. Now, after getting that push off 13K, where did we move up into? We moved back into supply, back into the previous low on Monday, back into the previous low on Tuesday, and back into that Wednesday pre-market low at the 13,170, 13.2 supply. Look at what has happened since we pushed back into that supply level on the Nasdaq. We pushed right into it on Thursday, off the demand, into the supply. We rejected that level. Friday, where we just had futures open, right? Market was closed, but the futures still trade. You can see we pushed up into that 13.2 supply again. We rejected. So it is very clear now when we look at this market that the 13,170 to 13.2, we simply cannot go long into this zone, right? I am not going to be someone that longs into this zone. Risk reward. If you're trading, let's say you start to see the market trade up to here. Let's say you just, market's bouncing. It's sort of trading here. Let's say it's around 11 o'clock. Maybe it's tomorrow. We're sort of right here. You cannot buy calls near this supply. All right, we need to understand that. We need to know this supply is here. So make sure to have this on your Nasdaq charts. 13,170 to 13.2 is a very clear rejection and very clear supply level over the last week. Support, support, support into rejections. That's very apparent. So make sure you're paying attention to this 13,170, 13.2 on the NQ. Very apparent supply level above to be paying attention to. Now, this morning's a little interesting because I did not expect this downside so early. This was actually, right, as I was doing my analysis this morning, this was where the Nasdaq was at. The Nasdaq was actually still up at this supply level this morning. So let me pull this up and make this a little bit bigger for you so you could see. This is where, when I started to do the Nasdaq analysis this morning, this is where we were trading, right at that supply. And you can see already this morning the downside that has come in already, right? This was the move that would have been nice intraday. This would have been a great downside move intraday. But you can see we are already rejecting that level this morning on the Nasdaq pretty aggressively. So that 13,170, 13.2 is very, very heavy up there. Now, this is sort of interesting what's going on as we speak, because look at where we are as we speak. We are back at the previous highs. This is back at the previous highs from Wednesday and Thursday pre-market before we got the breakout. You can see we have this 13,090, 13,100 area right here, right around this 13.9 to 13.8. 13,900 or 13,090 to 13,080 level. This previous high from, it's really not the previous high, but it's the previous little intraday high here on Wednesday. It's a pre-market high on Thursday, another pre-market high on Thursday, and you can see Thursday we did break out of that, but we are trading right back at that level. So this could be a little tricky this morning, right? Does this level hold? Do we see this little retest hold here? Do we see the market try to maintain this previous high here? That could be something we have to be very cautious of. If we fall under that level, right, if we turn this previous high and this high right here back into a rejection today, if we start to see this, right, then I think you're ready for that 13 again. Like what Omar is saying, looks primed to go back to 13. If we turn this previous high and this previous high back into a rejection intraday today, then I would agree with you, Omar. All right, then I would look for that downside into 13K. You need to be watching this Wednesday little end of day high around 13,080 and this little pre-market high around 13,080 as well. That is the main level I'd watch here on the Nasdaq. If that turns into a rejection, right, then I think you're probably just going to trade within this channel here between 13,080 and 13,000. So that's pretty textbook there. That looks pretty good. This 1380 is the FOMC wick rejection. Okay, let me look. Where's that? Am I missing that? Let me go back. Yeah, it's like right. Yeah, what's the high here? The high of this is 13,080. Yeah, so that's definitely a big level here. 13,080, very, very clear. You can see what Raymond said here, right? If we extend this level to the left, that is the exact high from FOMC, that wick high from that FOMC day. So you can see right here, if I go back to the, oh yeah, there it is. If I go back to the hourly chart, this wick high right here from FOMC is 13,080. So if we extend this to the left, we can see we are trading right back at that. So if we lose that level, right, if we lose that level and we turn that back into a rejection today, that could be your short side signal, right? That could be your signal to look for that downside back into 13K. So watch that 13,080 today. You have to also be a little bit cautious around here, right? Because there could be some games that get played here, right? You could do a little demand hold for a little bit. So just be cautious of that. 13,080, 13,090. Watch that zone today. Very clear supply up at 13,170, 13,2. If we fall back under these highs, I would assume you try that 13K again on the Nasdaq. All right? So that's NQ. Pretty clear levels, honestly. ES, very clear levels as well. Similar to the SPY, which we'll look at in a second. So here's the 30-minute chart on the ES today. And there's some pretty clear levels here on the ES. And this rejection this morning is textbook. So you guys can see, we talked about this 4,100 retest. You can see right here, hold 4,100, hold 4,100. That was a very key hold on Wednesday and Thursday of last week. 4,100, 4,100. Very nice little double bottom at the demand. You cannot short into 4,100. We talked about that on Thursday in the live stream, and you can see the upside that came in. Now, that upside, where did it move into? It moved right back into the supply. It moved right back into this previous demand. It moved right back into this supply here. It moved right back into, and this morning, look at the rejection right at that 41.35. Look how clear that 41.35 level is. It is, if you're just paying attention to the levels, it's pretty damn clear, right? Right there, and look at what's happening as we speak off that 41.35 today. So if anyone out there traded futures this morning on the short side off 41.35 supply, you absolutely killed it so far this morning. Your day is done, right? Your day is absolutely done. You just caught a beautiful 20-point downside move on the futures. So sick 41.35 supply rejection as we speak. It is very clear that is a major level to be watching. This is also SPY 410, which we will get into in just a second. Now, look at where we just broke back below, and look at where I need to now turn this into a red zone, right? This now has to be red on my charts because we are trading below it. This is a previous low from Tuesday. This is a previous pre-market low from the Tuesday into Wednesday. This is a previous high from Wednesday. This is a previous high from pre-market Thursday, 41.20. Look at the reactions at 41.20, and look at how we just died under that level. I mean, we simply just melted, and we are continuing to melt here under 41.20. So if we go back to the 30-minute chart, where do we need to be careful of, right? Where is the potential demand that steps up after this downside in the pre-market? It's very clearly right here at 4,100. So this is possibly what happens today. You get a pre-market move, an early morning move into 4,100. People want to chase downside. They buy puts at 4,100, and they lose money, right? That is very possibly what happens today. And if you're not paying attention to levels, that is going to happen to you, right? So you have to still, just because the market's dropping right now, just because we are aggressively dropping, you cannot say, I am going to buy puts into 4,100. That doesn't make any sense, right? That does not make sense in terms of supply demand to start buying puts at 4,100. Yes, it looks very weak today right now, but we still need to understand that there is demand at 4,100. So watch out for that 41. What I would love to see, I think the best trade you could see today on the ES would be this right here, right? This right here would be an awesome trade. It'll push back into 41.20 in the morning. It'll bull trap in the 4120, and then that move into 4100. That's really what you want to see, right? This is where you can set up those shorts on a little supply rejection of 4120. That's really what you want to look for if you want to get short this market today, right? Because that gives you that risk to reward. That gives you some margin to your downside play. If you sort of open up at this 41, you're going to have to be cautious of some, chop at this 41 level, all right? And you don't really want to set up shorts down here. So I would love to see a little pre-market, a little recovery, maybe a little morning rally into this 4120, and then see if that fades. That would be an awesome trade today. So going to keep an eye on that one. If we lose 4100 today, that could also be, pretty juicy, right? If we start to see 4100 turn into a rejection today, if we see something like this, that could also be your next short side watch. If we start to see this low and this low turn into a rejection, that could also be very interesting today. So keep an eye on that. If we lose 41, if we turn it into a rejection point intraday, that could be your next downside setup as well into that 41 or that 4070 level. So there's your levels: 4120, clear supply at 4135, and just please be cautious of this 4100 demand. Please do not let emotions guide your decisions. Let the demand guide it, right? See how the market reacts at 4100 today. If it starts to get weak under it, starts to get slippery, you probably can catch a second leg lower. But if you start to see some bounces at 41 intraday, respect it, right? Just because the market's weak this morning in the pre-market does not mean that it has to break 4100 today. There's no guarantees. So just please use that level as a guide. See how the price action builds up at this 4100. All right? SPY 410. This is your major 410 level on the SPY. This is that title of the live stream, right? You can see this 410 level on SPY is pretty major, and you can see the downside that's coming in off that 410, right? 410, little 409, 410 here, 410, rejection. Where's the major level on SPY? 406, right? If we go back to the 4-hour chart, look at the retest that happened on Thursday, 406, right? Look at this. This is 406 on SPY. This was a break, this was a retest, and this was a push off that 406 level. Now, if we lose 406, that is definitely your signal, right? If we lose 406 on the SPY, that is a very clear, in my eyes, a very clear signal to look back to the downside. If we get back below this low, if we get back below this consolidation, if we get back below this high right here, and if we start to see 406 do a little dance like this, right, that could be your very nice short side signal, right, to give back some of this upside move. Maybe back into this 399, 400 level, right? Maybe we can give back this straight up move between like 3 days, right? We went straight up in 3 days between 400 to 406. If we start to give up that 406, that could be your signal. But, right, you have to remember, some of you, or some people out there, not saying it's you guys, but some people will set up shorts here and say, I don't care about 406. I think the market's going to go lower, and I don't care about supply and demand. I'm just going to buy puts because I think I'm right, and I'm just going to start buying positions. If you do that and you ignore the demand here at 406, it is very possible that this happens to you, right? That is still very possible in this market, especially, that this 406 demand can hold. You want to be patient. You want to wait for that setup. If you see 406 start to really reject, that is your signal, right? That is where your risk to reward now makes sense. You can have your stop over 406 and look for that downside under that level. But I would not get too anxious and try to do that before you see confirmation under 406, okay? So 406 on SPY, that's big today. And then this little previous high around 407, 408 is also something I would be watching. I am now going to turn that red, right? I'm going to turn that red because that is now supply, now that we are trading back below it. All right, so hopefully those levels make sense. Dow Jones, oh, this is going to be big on the Dow. You guys can see right here, 33,500. This has been a major level for almost 3 days now. Look at this, right? previous low, previous low, previous low. Watch that 33,500 on Dow. We break that, probably some downside there. And then the Russell, weak once again, just pretty much trading in this channel between 1,800 and 1,700. Looking a little bit weak there. All right. So what's the major levels to watch today? 13,000 on NQ. Be careful shorting into that. 4,100 on the ES. Be careful shorting into that. And 406 on SPY. Just be careful into those demands. Yes, the market looks weak this morning, but we do not want to get caught shorting at demand. Watch out for those levels. All right. Tesla. I think Tesla needs to come back to 176 at this point, guys. I really don't see why it would hold up anywhere else. If I go to the 30-day 1 hour, you guys can see right here. Pretty clear demand steps up at that 176. You can see right here, 176. At this point, I really don't see how Tesla just sort of holds in the middle of nowhere. So I would be watching this 176, right? Right here, you guys can see previous low, previous low. I'm looking to see if Tesla wants to fade into that 176 level today. That's definitely a target of mine back into this level. Previous low, this is back on the 15th of March. This is back on the 20th of March. Yeah, this 177, 176 level, definitely something I'm looking at. If we go to the 5-minute, what we can do today, right, and how I like to trade, this is definitely something I look for. Let's look to see if we turn the previous day lows, right, into a rejection. So right now you have about like this 180 previous day low on Tesla. If you see 180 break, if you see 180 turn into rejections, that is your downside signal, probably into that 176. Are we going to buy puts at the previous day low? No, right? We want to see the previous day low turn into a rejection to give us that confirmation. That's what I would look for on Tesla today, right? That's what I would look for on Tesla. Watch this 180. If it turns into a rejection, look for that 176, 177. If it holds, right, then you might just sort of maintain here if you hold this 180. So 180, big level to watch today on Tesla. Demand down at 176. If the market stays weak, I would assume we look for that target. But you have to watch 180. All right, Apple. So a pretty key downside move here on Apple this morning. If I go to the 30-minute chart, you guys can see this 164 level. You have this previous low right here at 164. You have this previous high right here at 164. And look at what it did this morning at 164, right? We pushed below it. We got back into 164, and we could not get back above that 164. This was very key this morning on the pre-market, right? So if we go back into the 30-minute, we look at these levels here. If we are under 164, right, I would expect weakness on Apple, right? 164 right here, 164 right here. I would expect weakness under that level. You can already see it's coming in. 162 lows. So 5-minute chart on Apple, you guys can see Wednesday, Thursday, what was the low? 162, right? 162, 162. Watch us into that 162 low. All right. So if we start to move lower into that, be careful, right? The put side does not make sense at the moment, right? What is our put risk to reward here on Apple, right? Our put risk to reward is actually completely inversed, right? So we don't like puts into Apple right now. Does not make sense. So if we go, this is our put risk to reward on Apple at the current moment. That does not make sense, right? So we have to be cautious of that 162. If we start to see it step up here, if we see the market hold, Apple could try to bounce off that level. That's a previous double bottom low. So just be cautious of that. If you get under that level, if we turn this into a rejection point, that's where you get your confirmation. All right. And if you go to the 4-hour, I could still see, the case. If the market does get weak, I could still see the case for Apple back at this retest. I could still see the case. If someone made a case looking for that Apple back to 156, I could agree with it. Right? So if we do get more market weakness, this previous high here that we retested previously, around 156, that could definitely come in again. So watch for that. The more immediate retest level to watch out for if you are short is this right here around 161, right? So 161, if we are to break that 162 level today that we just talked about on the 5-minute, you can look for that 161. All right. NVIDIA 270. This looks big today. This looks like it's got some opportunity, guys. You can see right here, NVIDIA 270. We had a very nice downside move Tuesday, Wednesday of last week. All right, you can see Tuesday, Wednesday, nice downside. Wednesday, we held demand at 264. And what did we do Thursday? We held demand once again. So you have demand, right? You have demand. 264, 264, 264. We moved into it, and what did we do? We held it, right? This is no magic. This is just simply supply and demand. So we moved back into demand. We held it on Wednesday. We held it on Thursday. Where did we move back into? We moved back into supply, right? Back into this previous high, back into this previous high, from demand to supply. Now, 15-minute chart. You guys can see there's your demand hold at 264. There's your rejection at 270. Very nice downside. So we are right in the middle of a channel. And what do I usually, you guys have seen this on the live streams before. What do I say about trading in the middle of the channel? So this is how I look at a trade like this, right? I'm going to make this, we're going to do that right in your face example again. So is there anything that I like in NVIDIA right now? No, there's not, because NVIDIA is simply trading right in the middle of this channel between 270 and 264. So ideally, I want to target a trade either within this supply zone, right, up here, or I want to target a trade down at this 264 demand. I really don't like anything right now, unfortunately, because NVIDIA has already slipped off that 270. If we opened up at this 270 today, that would have been a sexy downside rejection play. But unfortunately, we have already lost that level, and we're seeing that downside come in already. So if we continue to see downside, right, I would look for that 264 test today, and I would see how we react at that level. If we hold this demand once again, maybe there's an upside play off demand. It's very possible. If we lose 264, right, if we lose 264, that is your next very nice downside setup. So if you go back out and you look at this 30-minute chart, if we lose this 264, if we see something like this start to happen, this could be really nice stuff. So 264, 264, 264, 264, 264, 264, and once again, 264. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 touches of that level over the last, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks. If we lose that level, if we turn that level into a rejection, that could be really, really nice stuff. Back into this next demand around 250. So definitely a watch there on NVIDIA, right? Definitely going to see how we react to 264 today. That should be one of your top watches, in my opinion. AMD 93. This is some textbook stuff, right? I mean, this is just awesome. This is the definition of break and retest right here. You guys can see AMD 93 as clear as day, right? Clear as day. 93 demand, 93 demand. As clear as day. What happened after we lost 93? What has happened ever since AMD has broken below that level? It has become a very clear supply. There is nothing cleaner here. There's no cleaner example. I hope this example can give you maybe a little light bulb moment. There is no cleaner example in the market, I don't think, as of right now, about a key flip of a key level, right? A flip of a key level. You can clearly see how this level has flipped. It was previously a strong demand that continued to push AMD to the upside. After breaking this level, what has happened at 93, right? Rejections and rejections. This is as clear as it gets, right? This is as clear as it gets. So if we stay under 93, are you going to look to trade upside on AMD? Absolutely not, right? There is absolutely no reason to trade AMD to the upside if it is under a previous demand level. You just have to think about this logically, right? You can't think about this with emotions. The logical explanation here is AMD has just lost a previous double bottom demand, and it is now turning it into a rejection point. That means AMD is weak, right? There's no reason to be trying to hope and pray on AMD upside after a key level flip like that. So we have to think about that. Now, if we stay under 93, I would expect more weakness. All right, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to give you some ideas of where I think this can move down into. The first one I would be watching is this 90 level. If I extend this to the left, it's a little bit lower here. This is like this 88, so I'm actually going to put a level there as well. This 90 level, let me go ahead and update this chart for you. Put a little level here at 88 as well, just to be cautious. 89, really. And then the major level, right? So if I zoom in here, and look at AMD. The major level that I would watch, if I do ignore these levels, the major retest in my eyes is back to this 88, right? This is the major one. This is where I think it truly can hold, around 88, right? You can see this previous high here at 88. This looks like a very textbook break and retest downside on AMD down to 88, right? That looks very, very clear. Now, you do still need to watch, if you are short-term trading, you still have to be aware of some levels. I would be aware of 90, right? I would be aware of it. I would just be cautious of it. This is a previous little consolidation here around 90, so I would watch that. And then I would also watch this double top around 88, 89. So there are definitely some areas to watch. You can see on AMD this little high here around 89. You can watch this 90. It's really this next few points that we have to be a little bit cautious of. 90, 89, 88. But in my eyes, if AMD's under 93, I would look for continued weakness. So today, I'll be watching to see what AMD does as it trades back into 90. That'll be a big watch for me. If AMD loses 90, then I probably get a little bit more confirmation for that trade into 88. All right? But you can clearly see, I hope this is a good example for some of you guys out there. You can clearly see the demand turned into a supply, right? This is very, very clear demand into supply. So hopefully you guys use that as an example and look to see that elsewhere in the market when you are trading. All right. Microsoft. So Microsoft, interesting rally on Friday, or on Thursday, right? Interesting rally on Thursday. Not really sure what caused this one. But you can see Thursday just pretty much straight up and right back into supply. So if we go to the daily chart and we get a little bit of time here on the daily, you guys can see, look at where Microsoft traded back into. Microsoft traded right back into this supply on the daily, this supply on the daily, and we are trading right back into that level today on Microsoft. So, I just simply can't be a call buyer here, right? It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense to be long into this 290, 294. You can clearly see the rejections that have come in here on the daily chart. So the only way I could look to go long Microsoft at this point is if it's above 294 and it clearly holds 294 as demand. That's the only way any kind of long entry makes any kind of sense here on Microsoft. Yes, it was strong on Thursday, but are you going to trade upside into this level right here? All right, are you going to be the one that goes long right into this 294 supply? I would personally not want to be that person, right? So you got to watch out for that 294 up here. That's a big daily chart rejection. You can see the reaction off that level in the past. I think the only way you go long on Microsoft is a 294 break and hold, right? That could be your confirmation for the upside. Without that, I would be very cautious up here in this 290 to 294 area. It's just it's not only just a daily chart level. It's a very clear weekly chart level as well. So just please be cautious up here on Microsoft. It has been a beast, that's for sure. Google. Yeah, it's coming back under it. I was hoping to see it hold. maybe you watched this 107. Yeah, I think you watched this 107. But you had this 4-hour 108. You guys can see right here, this 108, 109 area, which was a previous double top high on Google, right around this 109. Let me go ahead and clean this up a tad. Keep this like this. Make this red. So, Google, right, you can see here, this is on the 4-hour chart. Previous high, right? Textbook double top high. Excuse me. On 108.60, 109. Where did Google reject this morning? 108.60, 109, right? As clear as day. Now, you do have to be cautious here, right? Why do you have to be cautious here? Because Google is trading back into a previous high here and a previous high right here. So you do need to be cautious of the demand around this 107. You have to, you can't just be short side here until that 107 breaks below, right? If we break below that 107, then I think you could probably target this lower. If you start to see this 107 turn into a rejection again, then you could probably look for that target back into 104. But if Google maintains 107 today, be careful on the short side, right? That is a break and retest right there. That is a break. That is a retest. So you have to respect the retest of the previous high, which could turn into a demand, right? So watch that 107. That is a level to watch today on Google. Definitely a key level that I'll be watching. 107 on Google. All right, Meta. So Meta obviously continues to be a beast. This thing has been wild. And what did it do on Thursday? Meta came back down to that 208, right? 208 previous highs, 208 demand here, and look where it came back into on Thursday. We slid right back into that 208, and why did 208 hold? Well, it's just the previous demand, right? That's all it is. If you're paying attention to the levels, Meta held because it moved back into this previous hold. It moved back into this previous high, which turned into support. It moved higher. It moved back into that demand. It held again. So, right, very clear. 208 demand. We push higher. Where do we push into? 216 supply, right? So right now, we are trading at this high here, at this high here, and you can see we're getting weak at this high here. What do I think is the best trade today? This I think is your best trade possibly for this week, right? This could be very nice if the market can hold up. If the market can hold up, this is definitely something that interests me on Meta. Pull back off 216 supply, back into this 212 area, previous highs here, previous demand here, previous highs here, right? If we can pull back into that 212, that could be a nice re-entry for the long side. So I would look for that 212. I would maybe look to see if you could possibly trade the downside off 216 today. If you can maybe look to trade that back into 212 and then look to see if that 212 holds. That could be a nice little setup there. So for me, right, to go long Meta, I'm not going to long Meta at supply, right? That does not make sense. What's your risk to reward on a Meta supply or a Meta long right here? Here's your risk to reward. This is your risk to reward. Who's taking this? What is this? You get a point to lose 4 points. That makes no sense, right? So the risk to reward right now, in my opinion, is to the downside. Does that mean it happens? No, right? Risk to reward and probability is not the same thing. Make sure you understand that. Probability is not the same thing as risk to reward. But you want to trade good risk to reward because if you're wrong, the next trade likely pays for it. So 216, watch that supply up here. I would love to see this pull back to 212. That would really be something that would catch my eye to see if we can get that pull back to that 212 level. All right. That was really, we can go Amazon. Amazon probably one you guys are looking at today. Amazon's also on a nice retest. You guys can see right here, this 101. Previous highs here, right? Previous highs here at 101. Previous support. And then look at the support that stepped up on Wednesday, Thursday. So you could look for that Amazon 101 today as well. I do like that as well. See if that 101 turns into a support, right? See if this previous high turns into demand. That's very interesting as well. Let's check back in on the ES real quick. Where are we trading at? Okay, so ES is still above that 41. I would love to see this today. I would love to see this, all right? Little rally into this supply today and then see if that fades. That would be nice. So 4120, 4100 is your immediate levels to watch on the SPY or on the ES. On the SPY, you're watching like this 407.70 to this 406. You could even probably push this up into 408 if you want to be cautious today. You could probably push this up into like that 408 and watch that whole zone. So 408 to 406, right? That's really what I'd watch. So 408 to 406, that's your channel right now on SPY. 4120 to 4100 on ES. NQ is a little bit weaker than the rest, right? Watch this 13,090, 13,080 on the Nasdaq. If you start to turn that into a rejection, that could be pretty key. Let's pull up the live stream tickers, see what you guys want to look at. If you guys could take 1 second, I'm gonna give you 2 minutes. I'm gonna give you 2 minutes. Just for a few likes out there, right? 1,600 people here. Thank you guys for being here again. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Hopefully you learned something from it. Hopefully you enjoy how I explain those risk to rewards. Those are very important to be paying attention to. If you guys could take a second. W stream. Thanks, Nando. Appreciate that, my friend. I don't have an opinion on Adobe until we get to 1,000 likes. I'm just kidding. I can throw that in here. Adobe. We got Netflix in here. We got GS. We got FSLR. We got oil futures. Obviously, you guys want to look at Netflix, so we do have that in here. Netflix is coming up. We got Adobe, Netflix, GS, FSLR, oil futures right now. I appreciate that, Darlock. Coinbase. All right, we'll look at Coinbase. Vin Diesel. All right, let's get started. Let's speed round. Oil futures, they're just sort of sitting up here on an island. I have no idea. I don't really trade oil, so I'm not the most in tune with the fundamental side. But obviously, you guys saw those surprise production cuts last week. That's why it moved higher. You can see this very clear 82 supply, so watch out for that on CL. Let me get that chart pulled back up. FSLR GS, I'm going to put this up here so we can do a speed around here. FSLR, I mean, it doesn't go down as of late, right? It's just one of those stocks that keeps moving higher. You can clearly see this demand that's sort of stepping up around this 200. So watch that. That's going to be your key level to watch on FSLR. Watch that 200 on FSLR. GS. Yeah, GS sort of pushed back into this previous remember this 326 level we were talking about? We were talking about this 326 level. We said now if we can get above it, look for that potential upside. But you can see it is not wanting to get above 326.50. So you got to get back above that level before looking long on GS. Netflix. Yeah, Netflix moved back into these previous lows here, right? We had these previous lows around this 350, 345 area right here, previous low. We pushed back into it and rejected it. Watch this 330. That's the key on Netflix, 330. Previous high. Watch 330. If we lose 330, that could continue. Adobe, I mean, not really loving this. You guys can see pretty illiquid name. Not really a stock that I would necessarily trade on an intraday basis. But you can clearly see, right? Look at this. Very clear. 386, 387. Little double top. You probably want to see this. You probably want to see the pullback to 360. So watch out for that double top at 386 on Adobe. JP Morgan, just in a channel, doing absolutely nothing. And then finally, Coinbase, just sitting at this demand again. Coinbase, I think Coinbase is being propped up. I mean, it's just something's holding it right here, right? Stocks don't just sit like this. All right, there's obviously some pretty strong buying stepping up at this 60, just continuing to buy at this 60 level. 60, 60, 60, 60 this entire time. I mean, it's been trading at 60 pretty much for the whole entire 2023. So just be careful at this 60. All right, guys, that's all I got. Press the like button if you could. Subscribe to the channel. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. Once again, ES 4100. It's actually moving lower right now. ES 4100 to 4120. Nasdaq. If we turn this level into a rejection today on Nasdaq, I like that into 13K. You're starting to see it. You're starting to see it right now. So that's your main watch. If the Nasdaq turns this previous high right here, these previous highs into rejections again today, you're looking for that 13K. So watch that level. All right, guys, have a great day. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out. Press the like button. See you on the flip side.
Bye.